And we're live. Welcome to Matrix Talk. I forgot what we were doing for a second. Sorry. How to do ACT for substances abuse. Oh, we got substances. Oh, that's funny. Oh, well.
Yeah, I saw that you put the S on there. And I
Oh,
thought,
no, I copied and pasted what you wrote.
oh,
So,
I put the. Well,
so
you know
you got
what?
a, you
There,
got a,
there are multiple. There are
you
lots
got
of
a
out there.
multiple little pinky or a little ring finger there. Added an S there. Oh, but to my credit, I didn't notice that. Right this very second. So welcome, folks, if you're here. There's a couple of people with me. Bonjour. Oh, wow. We have Jasmine and Aaron. That's cool. Very cool. We're going to talk a little bit about how to do ACT for substance abuse, and of course with the ACT matrix, of which, by the way, folks,
Trippy, yeah, good.
Dreaming of being in Paris. My wife, as we speak, is in London. And as we speak, she's probably finishing up seeing Harry Potter and the Cursed Child 2-part play in London. So she's been having an entirely too good a time. Good for her. London's way cool. Way cool. They've really enjoyed it.
Oh,
Jay, it's my adult psychologist daughter, and of course my dear psychologist wife are over there together. They're both Potterheads. By infinite definition, they're both Potterheads. I'm a sort of kind of Potterhead because I'm married to one. But anyways, but Paris is also quite nice. I like that. Was neat.
Cool.
I spent like a full week in Paris once. It was really nice.
Nice. Oh, and then we have Serjana from Munich on today.
Yikes! Yeah, we're getting international.
Oh, there's Paris. Yeah. She's lived in Paris for over a year.
Yeah, she's lived in Paris for over a year. Wow. Oh, good for you. So
housekeeping.
Yeah, do some housekeeping. Not bad.
So yeah, a little bit of that. So up above us, there is a follow button, we do believe. So you click on that, and that way you can follow us, and you'll be alerted when we do stuff like come on a Crowdcast. And then hustle on down to the little green sign down there, little green dialog box, and click on it. Check out our ACT training. We offer APA CE courses.
Yep.
And we also offer ACT Matrix certification, which is not required to do the ACT Matrix, but people will often say, hey, do you offer certification? And we say, well, as a matter of fact, we do.
We do, as a matter of fact.
And as you can also see, if you haven't done this yet, like Jasmine is for not, chat in if you're on the call and let us know where you're from.
Yes. And most other people will do it via recording.
Yes. And you can even chat in during the recording too.
You can actually do that. And you can certainly click the green button and get the courses.
That's up there all the time.
And we'll be gabbing along about doing this substance use stuff with what we do, of which there's a lot of substance abuse. Probably getting worse these days.
No doubt about
it. As people head for their upper left quadrants in these wild times we live in. And if you don't know what we're talking about with that, what's a good way? What's a good way to call what do we call the matrix today? A way of telling your story to yourself and other people. How's that?
Yeah,
I said that to somebody. They said, "Well, what do you do with that thing?" And I said, "Well, it's a way of looking. You do a diagram and you look at yourself, and you can see yourself and your story in a way, and now you can tell your story to other people that way. And what do you get from that? Probably psychological flexibility is the technical term.
Seems to be the case.
Right. And so how do you go about doing that? Well, easy peasy. You have a diagram looks just like that. You can put your senses at the top and your mind at the bottom. And the feeling of contentment is over to the right. The feeling of relief is over to the left. And the telling of the story part comes in the lower right quadrant. You first write down who is important to you. So like my wife, I was talking about her being in London. My wife is important to me. So we write down, that's for me, wife, but for anybody else, well, it's whoever's important to you. And most of us have more than one person.
Yeah. But to get things started, like I would.
And then sometimes people put their dogs and
Pets.
guinea pigs, pets down there. And just so you know, folks, if you're sort of new to this, Bill and I don't really stop whatever people say to put down there.
Yeah.
When they say it, it goes in the important stuff box. We're good.
Yeah. Like somebody could say my work's important to me, but fine. Yeah.
It's just whatever, right? And we say, great. Now, in the lower left box, you put yucky stuff, which what we here in the States mean by yucky stuff is like fear. Fear doesn't feel good. It's yucky. You know, a bellyache is also yucky. So that would go down there. Self-doubt, all kinds of stuff like that, that you don't particularly enjoy having the feeling.
Yet it shows up.
And boy, isn't there a lot of stuff, a lot of words that go down there we've had over the years. So, and of course your garden variety, anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
Stuff like that goes in, and it's just, and we put it down there mainly because when it's there and you got this yucky stuff inside of you, you now have the urge to get relief from it. And now, so we go to the top part of the diagram, and that's where behaviors go, and observable behaviors. So now that you got this yucky stuff, we'll go with fear. Fear is down there, and so to maybe something has come upon me and frightened me, so I run. Yay! And indeed, I get relief from the fear by running. It worked. There we go. And believe it or not, folks, we humans have a rather large set of behaviors, most of us do, to get relief from yucky stuff. Like anxiety. That's pretty popular. I wonder if there's anybody anxious in the world these days. Who knows? Given if you turn on the news and watch it for more than a second or so, you will see. What might we say, anxiety-provoking stuff, followed by depression-provoking stuff rather quickly, right? And so you want to get relief from that. So what's one way that, related to the topic of our conversation today, what is something some human might do to get relief from anxiety and or depression? Like a game show. Da, 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 da. What might they do? Alcohol!
Oh, man.
That's an ancient one, isn't it?
That goes way back.
As soon as somebody accidentally discovered some fermenting something, taken out. Wahoo!
Oh, food, Aaron says. Okay.
And it's Patricia said it's the best. You know, alcohol And then, of course, the other is food, and add the two together. So, get you some alcohol and munchies and
Yeah.
eat,
A,
social media, workout, eating behavior, right? And
E.
there you go. People, you see people on their phones, and a lot of the time when you see somebody on their phone, I mean, I know it from my own thing, it's relief. It's
Doom scrolling.
you're escaping from the world, right, into your phone. And so all of these behaviors like that go in the upper left. And we just put them up there because, I mean, they're part of life. You have to do them. Oh, so many others.
Yeah.
Let us count the ways of others.
Alcohol plus, plus, plus. How's that?
There's lots of substances that are used. And we all do these moves. I mean, for belly aches, we take medicine.
Oh, yeah.
For broken arms, we go to the emergency room. There's all kinds of stuff that we do for relief, and it's just part of life. And then in the upper part, in the upper right, we have another part of life, which is when we're doing stuff for who's important to us or what's important to us. So I might go talk to my wife. I might bring her a cup of coffee. I don't know who else we had down there. But
I put my daughter. I might watch this. Watch Harry Potter with my daughter.
watch Harry Potter. Yay, Harry Potter.
And we have pets.
I have two with me right now.
There you go.
Walk the dog. I just let two of mine in here with me, and they think that's really cool. So that was, and they start. I don't know about me, but they're content right now.
I got it. Yeah.
So you get the idea. And so now what you can do as this human is you can now notice all this stuff. And so to do that, we put a circle in the middle. We put notice in the middle of it. It's just to signify what we do. And now we can go along and we can notice who and what's important to us. And we can notice our yucky stuff showing up. And we can notice ourselves as we do relief stuff. And we can notice ourselves as we do the stuff for other people, the contentment stuff. We can notice all of that stuff. And in noticing that, well, that's like a story, right? I have this is who and what's important to me. And I do stuff for those folks, in the upper right. Yay, part of my story. I got yucky stuff that shows up, and I do stuff to, in quotes, deal with that. And that's part of my story as well. And pretty soon, my ability just to sort of non-judgmentally notice all of that stuff comes on board. And so you may say that about yourself. You may say, gee, I've gotten to where I can sort of non-judgmentally notice myself. Interesting, huh? And boom. That, my friends, is ACT. That is acceptance and commitment right there. When you can non-judgmentally notice yourself. Meaning that you're not trying to get rid of something. You're not trying to do anything in particular.
Not trying to fix it or
you're not trying
to
you're doing the B thing. You're just being.
You are just yep.
And that's what it's going for. So you're not trying to fight off yucky stuff. And for that matter, you're not trying to drive yourself toward who and what's important. No, you're just being content. Now, part of that is that undoubtedly you're going to have committed actions that you do for who and what's important. That's part of the ACT lingo. It's usually in the upper right. The values part of ACT is usually in the lower right. language comes into play then, and Phil and I don't use the word values much, just because that word value, especially with people with substance abuse issues, I will have it. You're going to run into trouble with it.
Oh yeah.
They think you're dissing on them, or you're saying that they don't have values, and all kinds of stuff gets into the mix with that. So we just stopped using the word. And guess what? As you don't need it. You don't need that word. You don't need committed actions either.
We just put them up there. So
The other part is that we all get hooked. These lower left stuff shows up and it hooks us, right? And you feel like you got to do something about it. There's that word, gotta. That's English, folks. G-O-T-T-A. Gotta.
Got it.
I got to do something about this. Well, that means you're hooked. That means it's got you, right? And all of that is not peaceful, easy living. That's
man, that's a struggle.
Not you're struggling, right? And so the whole idea of ACT is to drop the struggle. And
Let it be.
now there's all kinds of these exercises that are in ACT books and stuff. Bill and I don't tend to do them. We just teach people how to start telling their story to themselves using this diagram.
From this point of view.
From this, oftentimes you'll hear us call it a point of view. Okay. So now, why is this so valuable in substance abuse work? Well, you may have noticed there ain't no judgment here so far.
Nobody's telling anybody what to do or what not to do.
We're not dissing on your contentment moves, and we're not dissing on your relief moves. We're just noting them, or noticing them. That's it.
Put them up there.
And that works well with the substance abuse population because they've had it up to their, hair with people telling them what they ought to do. Especially when it comes to, hey, if you were smart, you'd stop drinking so much.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. If you really cared about blah, 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 you would.
Oh, get the coercion in there.
Oh, yeah. Can you feel it? Can you feel it, folks?
And you feel the guilt showing up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Shame, the woman with the bell. Shame.
Hey, the Game of Thrones lady who became the Ted Lasso lady.
Yes,
right?
yes, she went from the dark side to the light side.
Anyway, we should say shame. Well, I mean, that wasn't lost on a lot of us because that's what life does, right?
Yep.
And especially if you've got something that's been ended up somehow, some way being labeled a substance use disorder, which, by the way, most of the people who overuse substances manage to not get that label. That's
interesting how that works.
It is interesting because my life has been reviewing a lot of medical records. Let's put it that way. And in reviewing those, I have noticed that about 50% could be called substance use disorder folks. They really could.
Interesting.
But they're not.
Yeah.
In no way, shape, or form are they labeled that. Isn't that something? Meaning that they use a lot and it's in some way, shape, or form causing them a problem. That's it. So substance use is rampant through our society, probably of most all societies.
No, for as long as humans have been running around the planet, they probably found substances to use way back when.
Right. Why? Because they give you relief.
They work. I'm going to chew on this plant. Oh, I feel better.
I feel so much
Yeah,
better.
ooh, my tummy ache went away, back way back in the day.
Stuff happens and you feel better and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh man, that's relief right there," and you do it. So we're non-judgmentally telling the story. That's what we're getting folks into the practice of, is non-judgmentally telling your own story. Now, for that matter, non-judgmentally telling other people's stories as well. It's quite the trick to non-judgmentally tell your story and other people's story. Flip on the news, you'll see a lot of judgy stuff going on.
Man.
And so back to substance use disorders. Well, there's a boatload of research, by the way, that shows telling people to not use doesn't work. That's not it. And of course, I actually heard in her own voice, a recording of her voice, Nancy Reagan saying the words, just say no. Famous, that was her drug intervention, right?
Oh yeah. Her 3-word intervention.
Just say no. That didn't work either.
Nah, I don't think Nancy had stumbled on what the solution for that.
That didn't work, right? And so, and for that matter, folks, really, if you look at the research, the only thing that has any bona fides for working for substance abuse is called the community reinforcement model.
Yeah, community reinforcement approach model, right?
And what that means is that you don't treat just the individual. You make sure that the individual who's returning to their community, that the people in their community are supportive of them not abusing substances, right?
Yep.
And that's not how it usually works. And that's a lot of work, by the way. That's a whole lot of work.
Man.
And so what happens is you bring somebody in, let's say to detox, you straighten them up.
Oh yeah, all cleaned up.
Get them all cleaned up, literally showered up.
Yep.
Looking
Looking spiffy, heading out the door.
And you send them out the door and they go home and their apartment's above a bar and all their neighbors are toking it up. And
their friends are wondering, they're going to come out and play.
And pretty soon they play. And so you set somebody back into a community of drug users.
Yep.
And
that reinforces drug use. It's the way it is.
What it is, right? Yep. And you're saying, well, in reality, those are just bad people. If they just had enough willpower.
Moral failing, right?
There you go. Here comes the temperance movement.
Yep, moral failing.
Start beating on your drum, thump, 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 thump. And yes, and that's it. So I'm not kidding, folks. I know that these folks, I developed this ACT substance abuse program. So I went and looked at the literature. What really works?
Well, there.
And it's the one thing, community support model. That's it. Other than that, no. CBT, no. And not even ACT. Good thing about ACT is it's really not trying to fix it so much.
Right. At least we're upfront about it.
At least we're upfront about not trying to fix it. CBT, it was not in any way, shape, or form developed for substance use. So it doesn't work, and and ACT wasn't either, by the way. That's nothing. So in the United States, you end up with what we call the abstinence model. And what in other countries, even some in the UK, they have the, you can use a little bit. What is it?
Harm reduction?
Harm reduction. Thank you. Harm reduction model. Right. So that's the two biggies that you have going on. The abstinence, by the way, that doesn't work. And
Remember Nancy?
yeah, that's Nancy had fancy word for three words for abstinence. Just say no.
Yeah.
Equals
Is it?
abstinence.
You're on your way.
And the other is harm reduction, which means you can still use, you just don't use so much that it's very harmful to your life. Right. But at least it's more honest in that it accepts the fact that people are probably going to use anyway. So because the abstinence model is totally dishonest, totally.
Boy, it sets a lot of people up, doesn't it?
It just sets them up for failure, right and left. So I mean, I live in the state of Maine, and we're a state where all the grocery stores sell liquor, not just beer, liquor. So you go to the grocery store to get milk, and what are you going? And of course, liquor is one of their big ticket items. It's where they make most of their money. So wherever you go in that grocery store, guess what you're going to be faced with?
Mm-hmm.
Liquor and beer. Oh, that's just nice. Take these people that are supposed to be abstaining. They go to the store to get some healthy food, and what do they get hit with? Liquor,
Yep.
liquor.
Yep. Right next to the milk and the bread, and there's the liquor.
So, anyways, folks. So, in that context, we have, okay, what are we going to do? This, what we just did.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. And because there's no magic bullet here, you can go find yourself stuff that says magic bullets for this, but there's not.
No.
But can a person have a more decent shot at the harm reduction model using this? And my own experience and even tracking data showed yes, they can.
Mine too, working with the people I've worked with over the years. Yep.
And why? Well, because it allows you to use some,
Yeah.
Like you're not bound to that. I can do zero. And
Right.
come on, any of us are that way. I mean, I don't drink, but if you told me I could never have another drink, wouldn't be very long, I'd be wanting a drink.
Absolutely. It makes you think about when you go for blood work for your physical, right? You got to do a fast, right? As soon as they say you can't have anything to eat after 12 o'clock, it's like, oh, what do you mean?
I'm going to starve. I'll starve, right?
Yeah, really. Do it. And then you start thinking about food.
And that's the way it is, folks. And we're all that way. We're all humans. We're all that way. So it's not that big. So at least, if anything, this acceptance and commitment therapy ACT matrix style is consistent with the harm reduction model. I would say that it is in no way, shape, or form consistent with the abstinence model.
Oh yeah, there's nothing in there about don't do it.
It's all judgment and you're a bad person if you drink, and well, the Temperance League folks, not.
Yeah, they're not fans of that. No,
it's not. So it's gonna look at it realistically, and that's what you want to do with it. And so, really, then it gets back to the best. I think one of the better ways to approach this stuff is that story level. That we all have a story that we're developing about ourselves, right? And I think a lot of people, if not most people, they want a success story.
Yeah.
And when I say success, I don't mean Wall Street success. I just mean, success. Going about life and that success, the way I phrase that in ACT, that would be the values. That would be so are my behaviors moving me toward a successful life? You ask that question. Well, the same way as are they moving me toward my values, right? But see, right there, you can see why we don't like values, because values and substance abuse is
Oof.
bad.
They do not mix.
Linguistically, it doesn't. It's a really poor mix.
No.
And I know that when Steve Hayes and others were developing this in the language, they weren't thinking about the substance abuse population. I mean, I know I've talked to them. That just wasn't really what they were thinking of. And so just try it. I mean, if you want to, go try it. We didn't. Phil had a lot of substance abusers. I had a lot of substance.
Oh yeah,
didn't work. But this idea of I'd like to be some kind of success in life.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Try to get somewhere.
And that's what we're going for. So that's your story, right? Because no matter who you are, that's your story. That's what you're looking for. And so in order to do that, that brings up the thing of choices, what you choose what to do, right? And we can go round and round on choices, but nevertheless, that's what we call them. And
that's how people experience them.
That's how people experience. That's how you experience your life, you know. Yep. And so at one point, maybe you can be walking down the street and you can say, ooh, I could go into the bar there and get a drink. Or maybe not. Go on.
Or I could keep on walking.
Right. That's a choice. That's perceived as a choice. Okay. And that's where, and why would you do that? Well, because that's more consistent with the life that I want to be leading. Oh, okay. There you go. Now notice you haven't just gone to bar or, you know, and it is like, that's just, that's
that choice still exists over there too. If you want to go do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing. So it's there. And so how do you get to that point? Well, you get a big picture look at the self. You get that, and that noticing backs you up
like that.
And, you get to where you can notice yourself behaving. And so with somebody with substance use, it's like, well, how consistent is using substances with the life you want? Now, whatever you do, don't ask a 16-year-old that or something, because it's probably going to be entirely consistent with that.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, it works just great.
Right. They want to be social. They want to be part of a group.
They want to hang out with friends. This is what their friends do.
They want all that stuff. So that is their valued life direction, if you want to put it that way. And so substance abuse just fits right in with that. So you can not like it or like it. It don't matter. It's what happens. I mean, how many people started smoking cigarettes just to fit in? Right?
Oh,
back in the day, you know, it was like, yeah.
I can recall that was back when I was a teen, I picked up this habit of cigarette smoking for a while because the kids would get a cigarette break at the hamburger place that I worked at. So I thought, I'm going to start doing that too. Saddle right on.
That'll go right in. So yeah, there's all kinds of, you see, and so in Phil's life at that point, that was workable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was workable.
I didn't keep doing it forever, but it was working for me back then.
Workable. And for a lot of people, they get started with some kind of substance use because at the time it's workable.
Yeah, seemed like the thing to do at the time.
I mean, we can even get to the opioids. You know? So many people, and Phil and I have both known them, probably people that listening to this have known them, where people really did have a pain, something, you know, broken leg or something that required
surgery.
You know, it's not really morphine, but you know what? One of the morphine derivatives.
Opioid.
It works.
Yep.
works. But with some people, that leads to addiction. And they get addicted to the substance. So you go from a workable use of opioids to one that doesn't work so well eventually. But it's within the person's own story to know how it works or doesn't work and how they might go about doing less opioids or anything else. So, but to get people backed up and looking at their story, that's what ACT does.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep.
It's not saying you're a bad person for using. It's not saying you're a good person for not using either, by the way. Neither.
Yeah, right.
It's called non-judgmental. And it is a devilishly tricky thing to pull off. I was mentioning to Phil, I've been training up on how to do something recently that's very difficult, but it's not as difficult as sticking with being non-judgmental. That's
a process.
So the world is going to show up and invite you to be judgmental each and every day, right? And so to get into this space of you're being non-judgmental. So what do we mean? Yes. Example of that. I have anxiety and depression. There you go.
Check.
Bill says, hey, what have you been doing to get relief from your anxiety and depression?
Well, I've been drinking.
You know what? And not only that, I found some heroin and it works too.
Ooh, okay.
And that's it. Oh, okay.
Plus. Plus heroin.
That's how it's dealt with. It's not, oh my gosh, you're using heroin. Oh no. Which some people might do. No, you just don't. You just get to where it does. It's okay. Why? Because now they can just non-judgmentally look at their life.
Look at it.
Just look at it. And see if it fits. Maybe it fits. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it fits or not. In the end of the day, each one of us gets to make that choice.
Yep. The one who's doing the noticing is making the choice.
And for some people, I guarantee you there's people out there who are using heroin for some darn good reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's working for their life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's most people. Could I find one or two or three? Sure.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's just the way it is. Well, that's the way we approach this. The person looks at the use and then asks the question, well, is it working for the life that I want? Well, I'm not sure what kind of life I want. Great. We can talk about
that. More discussion.
We can talk about that. Right. And so once we talk a little bit about, the life that you want, great. Now we can, the person can begin to do that analysis of, well, does all that using work to get me toward the life that I want? You don't know in the moment, really. You just don't know.
Nope.
So you just go on about looking at it. So that's the way this is done. It's as boring as it can be.
Yes,
there's no bells and whistles to it.
There's no fancy pull out the intervention of the decade kind of thing here.
No finger wagging.
Yeah, we're not doing none of that stuff.
or tapping.
Nah, not tapping. Not grounding.
Oh yeah. We're not
asking some real simple questions.
We're asking simple questions that get us all. And by the way, when you ask other people these questions, it does it to you too.
Oh yeah.
You get toward taking a look at your own life from this 30,000-foot view. It's just and it's a 30,000-foot non-judgmental view. Except the judge is all of this working to get me where I want to go in life? Obviously, that is an evaluation.
Yeah.
It is. So, but the way we handle that is we say, just don't answer that right now. As soon as you ask that question, don't answer it. And you say, well, why? Why would that be? Because the answer will show up. That's why.
The answer lies in your experience.
Well, this is like riding a bike, so you can in the moment think I need to lean left or lean right or whatever, but it's not going to do you any good to do an analysis of that. You just got to ride. You'll notice if it's working or not working. Well, it's the same with this. You can ask the question, yes, is this working for the life that I want? And then don't answer the question. Because if you do answer the question, you will open the gateway to judging the holy heck out of yourself.
Yep.
And personally, I'm excellent at that. So,
one of my all-time favorite pastimes.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody else here, Jasmine or Aaron, maybe you're really good at being totally non-judgmental with yourself. Morning, noon, and night.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
There's a ha.
Aaron got a ha. Best I can tell, we humans are not any good at being non-judgmental toward ourselves.
Oh, man.
We just judge the holy heck out of ourselves.
No way.
And so that trap is just always right there around the corner, that judging yourself trap. I'm kind of pretty good at it now that I don't answer the question. And that's it.
That's it.
And yeah, that's where you get.
Yeah.
Where you finally learn how to not answer the question verbally.
Right.
But technically speaking, folks, just to go on that, you'll get into a verbal analysis, and that's a slow thinking, crappy analysis. And I'm referring to Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow. If you ever want to read a really good book on the subject, it's that. And if you start to do a verbal analysis of how things are working, that's thinking slow, and it doesn't work for this. I'll just be bold and say that. It doesn't work for this. The analysis has to occur with the fast thinking, and what that means is nonverbal. You're not processing it verbally.
Experiencing up here.
You're processing it non-verbally. So that's why ask the question, is it working? Then don't answer the question. You don't answer it verbally, you answer it with your behaviors. Way to look at it. Or at least a workable way to look at it. And so there you go. That's ACT matrix of substance use. It's really ACT. And ACT in general is non-judgmental. Just is. It's a large set of exercises, ACT writ large, that get you to the process that Phil is holding up there. That's what it gets you to, this non-judgmental process of looking at yourself over time. And I thought the way they doing it was confusing and cumbersome. So I made it simple. And I literally, that's part of my story. I get to say I made it simple. I made the looking at yourself this way simple. So that's what we do. Still ACT. This is simple.
So Patricia has a question there.
Motive. And
I had this come up again at a training I did last week too. So, yeah.
It is somewhat.
Yeah. They're kindred spirits. Let's put it that way.
And I don't think anybody did it on purpose. And it just happens to be other people coming to the realization that telling other people what to do directly doesn't work.
Yeah.
And especially in regards to something like substance use, let's put it that. And yeah, it has, but I have studied enough motivational interviewing to sort of get the feel for that similarity. Oh, definitely. Once again, to me, that's pretty cumbersome.
Yeah.
This is so easy for me.
It's definitely more complicated. Yep.
This is only And here's the other thing. Folks think you must be doing something more. And we're like, no, we're not. We're throwing them the diagram and then we're having conversations. And every once in a while we go, oh, yeah, remember the diagram?
Yeah, right. This here.
And we go back over and look at the diagram. Sometimes we'll say something like, oh, where might that go in the diagram?
Where would you put it?
Where would you put it in the diagram? Where would I put that?
Mm-hmm.
Was that drinking for your, to relate to other people, or was you drinking as a pure relief move, or maybe it was a little bit of both? And they go, and that's what you want.
At the
You've done your job if you get them looking back at themselves.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. On to the. Now you're on to the next thing. That's it. Now, this doesn't mean you can't sit with people and be very useful and sitting and having a conversation. You really can. A lot of people need, in quotes, emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that.
Yep.
We just do it with this diagram. So really, we do chit-chat check-in therapy with a diagram. If you really want to know. And why is that handy? Because I trained a whole lot of people, psychologists and social workers, even some psychiatrists and stuff. And you know what they all end up doing inside of a therapy session? Chit chat check in. That's what they end up doing. Because they're humans, and that's what happens. I'm not dissing them whatsoever.
That's just the way it is.
Just the way it goes. It's okay. That's fine. But now we can do chit chat check in with a sort of a scientific basis to it by bringing in the matrix.
Point back to it.
So we can chit chat. Chit chat diagram. That's it. Sort of fun. Matter of fact, it's a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Because you're off the hook. You're not telling them to do something or not to do something or anything. But it's like, oh, am I supposed to take this diagram home and do it every day? I don't know. I mean, no. So I can honestly say, I will say to people, I've heard of people doing that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Some people do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've known other people who didn't do that.
And it's not required that you do that.
Whichever. I'm not, no. Because we don't give homework, because if we gave homework, we would be going down the road of pliance, telling people what to do.
Yep.
We're staying away from that. Unless, I mean, they're about to shoot themselves. Don't do that. They're about to shoot somebody else. Don't do that.
Somebody's in the middle of the street and the car's coming. Get out of the street.
Get out of the way, right? There are circumstances where we suspend that and tell people what to do. But they're pretty rare, really. They're pretty rare. We don't do that. So that's how you do it. If you do this kind of treatment with folks, it's a lot better. Makes for a lot better time. The folks who are in your program, if you're doing it in a program, they'll really appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
Most
definitely. They'll pick up on it
because they've had it up to there.
They'll pick up on the non-judgmental nature of it.
And unless you're going to do the community reinforcement model, and let's face it, you're probably not.
I don't have one of them laying around.
That's staff intensive, lots of money.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen, folks. So if you're not doing that, just show this. And you know what? There's the people they're taking a look at it. And people that have come in and they got their lives, they literally had to be hauled in an ambulance because they were about to die. Yeah, well, we can help them a little bit.
Yeah.
Give it a talk to them and get them on an even keel, and just maybe they'll go back out and not get into that position again. But that requires choices, right? you choose to use, choose not to use, or at least choose to use less, that kind of stuff going on. It works. So we did it again.
We have.
Do we have a course on this?
We do.
Oh, we did it. Okay, good. So
Several
jump
people
over,
have
if you want credit,
partaken.
click on the green button and go
Down
buy.
there. Yeah.
And we'll do that. It's fine. In the meantime, what we really highly encourage everybody to do, and it's just encouraging, we're not trying to tell you what to do, but if you get a chance, show this to somebody.
Yes.
I don't care if they use or don't use, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you do get a chance, show it to somebody, because you know what? There's a lot of people that eventually find it useful. And sometimes it's like 2 years later.
Yes.
I got an email literally just this week, Phil, and it was from somebody who had like been to one of our conferences and I don't know if it's you, me, or somebody else, but and then had finally read the book, and they said, even in the email, it was sort of like, yeah. And it,
Yeah.
one of the reason it clicked, and they went, oh my God, this is really cool. But it took 2 years.
Well, there's some seeds that we planted somewhere along the way that bore some fruit.
That bore some fruit. That's what we're looking to do. And so if you can help us plant those seeds with folks.
Yeah.
And non-judgmentally. We're not saying
No.
just show it to them. Just do it. Show it to them.
Show it to them and let them be.
Let them be. Yeah, exactly. Let them. I think the world will be a whole lot better place if we all
Think
did
about
that.
it. We just let people be. Wow.
I think there's a song.
Yeah, it's a Paul dude that came up with that.
I'm blanking on it. I'm not. But yeah, just so above all, that would be it. Go show it to others. But if you get a chance, buy a course from us. Help us pay the bills. Oh, motivational. Hey, go learn Merrill. All of that complicated stuff I gave up. I'm 40 years into the business. I would rather do, we ought to call it that. How to do chit chat check-in therapy.
Yeah. Okay. I think that could be the next Crowdcast.
We can do that. What do people think of that? How to do chit chat check-in with the ACT Matrix.
It's worth giving it a shot.
Nobody's commenting. They're thinking I'm nuts. I'm telling you, folks, that's what goes on in most places. That's what's going on. Everybody gives the mighty try at doing some CBT or
pulling out your favorite protocol.
And then they get tired and it's to be Friday afternoon, like chit chat. Because people are people and they chit chat. Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
But now you can do chit chat with purpose.
Chit chat and.
Well, with that, we should sign off.
I think that's enough for today.
People love to be passive chat. Easy, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it. They do. They love it.
Exactly. It's the easy button.
Happy weekend, all. Yeah, I will.
Oh, yes.
And we'll be back next week.
Friday, yes.
Easy money. That's what we all want right there, is that easy money. Right? We need that money to buy food with.
Yep.
Bye-bye, folks.
Yeah.